The whole point of my talk show is to show you that even with having a learning disability, I can still amount to something. And at the same time, I'm able to turn myself into an example for people out there dealing with any types of learning disabilities and disabilities to never give up and prove people wrong. Prove to them that labels do not dictate who you are and who you're going to be, so prove to them you can still amount to something. Ladies and gentlemen, my name is Keith Andrew, and you're watching the Keith Andrew Network. It is episode 1096. That is right, 1096 episodes available on YouTube, Facebook, and all social medias. As you heard from the recommendation, we have a great guest. She's an upcoming actress. So the first question I want to talk to you about, it's called Icebreakers. So the first one I want to tell you is tell our audience a little bit about yourself.
Hi, I am Kelsey, and I am 10 years old. I like the color pink, and it's really cool to be here.
Oh, absolutely. So the next question I want to ask you is, what were some of your favorite sports growing up, and what sports do you like doing?
My favorite sports growing up were baseball and cheerleading, and I still do cheerleading now, and I'm hoping to get back into baseball very soon.
No, absolutely. So the next question I want to ask you is, who inspired you to become a gymnast, and who inspired you to start your career as a baseball player?
Um, well, I don't really have any, but I liked baseball ever since I was young, and I like to do it more. And yeah.
All right. And what about being a gymnast that you like? Is there anything about being a gymnast that you do not like?
Sometimes I don't like having to do like straight jumps all the time.
I heard of it. Not really familiar with that.
It's basically where you have your hands up and you jump
Ah,
across like a beam.
well, that sounds like fun. Well, if you're good at balancing. What about, did he ever get the chance to do one of those human pyramids? Or,
Yes, we do them in cheerleading, and so you basically have a back spot, two front spots, and a flyer. And so basically, you the front spotters go like this, and they get her up, and the back spot has the job to go help wherever they're going, so it gets weight off of the bases.
what about the normal one where it's like a stack? Could you ever do those? Or
Not really.
for me, I kind of like the basics. Just throwing it out there. But there's one gymnast thing I saw recently. You might know of it, or your parents might know of it. It's called tiger jump, tiger leap. It's where you have a pile of people and you have three people jump over the pile. You ever hear of that?
No.
I would definitely send it to you. It's really cool. And I know it's probably like a different name, but I just know I know it as Tiger Pile. Interesting name, but I guess it's a pile and you pretend you're a tiger and you jump over a pile of people. Go figure, right? So the next question I want to ask you is, well, going back to the question I asked before, you know, what is your goal? Because you mentioned you were a gymnast, obviously you do cheerleading too, but what do you want to major in? If you had to pick one to say, you know what, this is the one thing I just want to focus on.
Um, I would want to be A cheerleader still because it's I've been a cheerleader for most of my life.
All right. Did you win any competitions or?
Yes, this year we won a superior and best dance.
Oh, nice. Congratulations.
Thank you.
So the next one I want to ask you is, well, going following up on that, what has been your greatest achievements?
My greatest achievement is probably getting my back walkover and front walkover.
All right. The next one I want to go around. Every positive has a negative. So let's go on the negative side. What was your biggest failure and how did you handle it?
Um, when I was trying to do my back walkover, I would always fall and go back. And how I dealt with it was I kept going and kept going, and it took me a year and a half to get it. So,
No, it's all about practicing. Look at me for an example. I've been doing this for almost 11 years. It's about practicing day in, day out. I was horrible when I first started interviewing people. My disability showed more. But because I do this every single day, now I seem like an expert at it. So it's all about practicing. So the next one I want to ask you is how do you handle stress and being under pressure?
um, I don't shout. How I start, how I handle stress and anxiety is I meditate and I take a deep breath and I just say, "You got this. You got this. You got this."
That's a great attitude to have. Absolutely. You are your own worst enemy. And believe me, I deal with that on an everyday basis. But all you have to do is look at I can't speak. You can look at yourself in the mirror and say, for me, dressing up, putting on these filters, it's kind of like a mask, kind of like a superhero. And it's kind of like you're giving yourself a pat on the back saying, same words you did. You got this. You've been doing this for a long time. You can do anything when you put your mind to it. So the next one I'm going to ask you is when you became an actress, who inspired you and what's your favorite thing about acting?
Um, the person who inspired me was Ali Cavallo. She is Moana in the movie Moana, and I really liked how she did in it, and I wanted to become an actress myself. And my favorite part of the acting is probably going to the plays and meeting new friends.
Not very good. Now, the next one I want to ask you is what is the biggest change you want to make in your cheerleading career, gymnastics career, and acting career? Is there any changes you want to make?
Probably the changes that I want to make are having more positive attitude because sometimes I can be a little sassy and uh and get more better at my tumbling and how I work with stuff.
No, absolutely. And it's nothing wrong with having a little sass to it. And you have to be your own person. Do you agree or disagree?
I agree.
So the next one I want to ask you is what are some of the best advice you have gotten for it's the same question for all three, cheerleading, gymnastics, and acting. What were some of the best advice you have gotten?
Probably from my mom because she got me started on all of this and she tells me don't worry, you're gonna have fun.
No, that's absolutely. That's the biggest thing is don't do something and thinking, oh, this sucks. And it's a lot of work. It's a lot of pressure. If you have that mentality, I give me an example what I mean. For me, this yes, it is a job for me, but I interview people for fun, like you. You make a new friend out of it. You're making an example. You get to meet new people. So have the positive attitude of saying, I'm going to do it until it's not fun anymore. And that's like going in any other job. Your mom will agree, hopefully. If she agree, you're doing a job, you do it until you start hating it. Once you start having a negative attitude about what am I doing here? I can do better things. You're setting yourself up for failure. So the biggest thing is just do what you love. And once you get into the mindset of what am I doing wrong, that's a time where you should step back and refocus and say, maybe it's time for a change. And I've been there. I've been in a lot of retail stores where I'm like, oh, this is a great store. I'm really happy, blah, blah, blah. And then, I don't know, someone flips the switch. I can't snap my fingers. You probably can do that. But someone snaps their finger, and then you're like, I'm not having fun anymore. It's more then yes, it becomes wank wank work and you don't enjoy it. Have you ever thought about being a cheerleader when you're a cheerleader or a gymnast, positive attitude, say you're going to have fun. But was there ever a moment where you said, this is hard work and I don't want to do it anymore?
Yes, very much so. I would do that most of the time. I would
Yeah.
say that with acting. I would say, Mom, I don't want to do acting anymore. And then she'd be like, Are you sure? And I'm like, Yup. And she's like, Oh, well, if you don't do this, if you want to do Disney, then I guess you can do Disney if you want to. And I'm like, Yes, put me in Disney.
Well, let me ask you, bring up a good subject. Do you want to work for Disney or do you want to work for Nickelodeon?
Ooh,
Like in your
both.
like in your free time, what do you watch more of?
Disney Channel, definitely.
No, they had a couple great shows, Miley Cyrus, um, and what was it? Jack
Selena
and
Gomez.
yeah, that's a good
Selena
one.
Gomez. Uh, Selena Gomez.
Jack and Cody when they're on the boat, that was a good one. And also Disney Nickelodeon had their own. They had iCarly and Sam and Cat. And they had something else, but it doesn't matter. But it's competition. But it's always great to say, you work for Disney. There's no reason down the road you can't work for Nickelodeon, or if you work for Nickelodeon, you can't work for Disney. It's all about when you meet someone, and remember this, when you first meet somebody, you have the first 10 seconds to make a good impression even if you're having a horrible day, have a smile on your face, extend your hand, and introduce yourself because you never know when you're going to meet that same person down the road and you're going to remember you for making a difference.
Okay.
Now, the next one I want to ask you when you were in school and you do all these amazing things, does this kind of give you like a chip on your shoulder saying you're better than everyone, or does this kind of like give you more confidence of saying, I can inspire people who are around me?
I do kind of both. Like, I go between, yes, I'm doing better than everyone, and I want to make a good example for everyone. Because I go between both.
No, I agree. Now, next one I want to ask you is social media. How can our fans and listeners follow you on social media? And for people who want to start their career from using you for an experience, what websites would you highly recommend?
YouTube. I would do YouTube because I have a YouTube channel on there.
You have a Facebook and you have an Instagram.
I don't have a social media?
Honey, Facebook and Instagram are social media.
Oh. Okay then.
No, absolutely. YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, those are the big ones. But I would also recommend having a LinkedIn. LinkedIn's really good because the more recommendations you have, the more you can show people, because people will always ask you about recommendations and references. But how did you get started with working with an agency? Do you have an agent? And one of the questions I was going to ask you is a lot of people argue with me about this, but I want your opinion. Do you or do you not pay an agent to represent you?
I pay an agent to represent me.
You pay your agent a portion of what you make. You don't pay your agent just to be your agent.
No, I don't think so.
No, absolutely. That's the right answer because a lot of people are like, oh, hey, I have my own production company. Give me a couple of dollars and I will represent you. And I'm like, no, because it doesn't work like that. If I make money, you make money. Just because I give you money and I make nothing, then you're being taken advantage of. So you have to watch out for scam artists.
My mom does it for me.
I'm sorry?
My mom does it for me.
No, absolutely. Your mom's really smart and that's the best way to do it. Now, with the next question I want to ask you is what agencies do you apply for? Did you do like backstage? Do you do casting calls? What websites would you recommend for people who are starting out?
Casting networks.
Casting networks and backstage musicals.
All right. So the next one I want to ask you is what were some of your favorite films that inspired you to be a cheerleader? Did you like the movie Bring It On? For gymnasts, did you see, I don't know, there's probably gymnast movies out there somewhere. Can't think of any. But was there any movies that inspired you?
One of the movies that inspired me was Moana because I like to see how they animated it and how she voiceovered it, and it sounded really good.
Now, here's a fun question for you. With everything that you accomplish, and you have a bright future ahead of you, with everything that you accomplished up to this point, how comfortable are you teaching other people everything you learned?
I feel pretty good about it because I like it to help people, and sometimes my mom says I do it too much.
Well, if it makes you feel better, I have diarrhea of the mouth. I talk a lot. So, it's not, sometimes it's a good thing, sometimes it's a bad thing, but it's always good to express yourself. But do you ever want to ask you, when you have to stand in front of a class to do a project, how do you feel about standing in front of a group of people? Because you do auditions. Are you nervous? Do you give yourself that self-confidence? What do you have to do to pump yourself up?
So what I do is I like give myself a pep talk saying, "You've got this, you've got this." And my mom says it. When I say I'm nervous, she says, "Don't be nervous, just have fun."
No, that's absolutely. Now, I do have a couple questions for you off the air, but how can our fans and listeners follow you? You mentioned before you're on Facebook, Instagram.
I am on Facebook and Instagram, and you can on Facebook you can find me at Kelsey Haley, and you can find me on Instagram. I have 2 things on there: Zimmy Kiddos and Kelsey Haley.
All right, absolutely. And we're definitely going to do a part 2 down the road. But wrapping up our interview segment, it was a real honor and privilege having you as a guest. And I'm looking forward to part 2. So until we meet again, catch you later. Thank you, and have a good night.
Bye.